So welcome to the very first episode of the Dr. Chris Rogan show, which I'm hoping will become a podcast and some other things. But I've got my friend here, Steve Tate, and he's going to interview me for the first episode. We're just going to talk a bit about the channel and what you can expect from it. Let's do it.
Hi there, Chris. Thank you very much for joining us for our interview today. Can you introduce yourself to our loving audience?
Sure. So my name is Dr. Chris Rogan, and I'm a medical doctor. I'm practicing in Sydney, Australia. And I practice in an area which is pretty seldom known called interventional radiology, but that's kind of one of my areas of passion. We offer minimally invasive image-guided procedures and a fairly technologically driven specialty that I've been practicing for the last 10 years now as a specialist.
Right. 10 years. This feels, though, like a very sort of new and modern technology.
Yeah, that's right. We're really technologically driven specialty. So it's about pinhole procedures and imaging guidance, and the nature of the tech and the imaging is changing all the time. So new procedures and new techniques and devices come online all the time. So yeah, definitely it's a dynamic and changing specialty.
Right. And you're passionate about it?
I am, yeah, because I really feel like we can make a difference with patients and there are new options available. And so one thing is I really want to make sure the patients know about these minimally invasive options and so they can make an informed decision really about their healthcare.
Sure, because minimally invasive would be better?
That's right, yeah. So generally I think medicine works across the spectrum from the least harmful to those treatments that carry the most potential for harm. And that's really about invasiveness in some way. So generally, if we're looking at how can a patient deal with a medical problem, the most benign and simplest way is to change something about their lifestyle or about their diet. These lifestyle modifications are really safe and sometimes very effective. And then you step up to the next level of invasiveness. It's things like medications. You take a pill, it could have some side effects, but it, often has a great benefit. And then when you get into the procedural side of things, depending on the amount of invasiveness, that means, how big a cut is or how much of an organ you lose, there's more potentially to be lost. So through doing procedures through a pinhole and through seeing where you're going with good image guidance, we can reduce what's called morbidity or the negative consequences of the procedure and hopefully try and achieve a similar thing to a more invasive procedure.
Great.
Yeah, so we look at lifestyle, medications, minimally invasive, and then more invasive or traditional open surgery.
Great.
As a continuum, really.
Okay. And those aspects might be a good segue into what brought us here today, that you're looking at starting a sort of digital platform, your own show, the Dr. Chris Rogan show.
Well, that's what we're going to call it for now. And, it may evolve into something else. But the main purpose of the show, and I think that's where you're headed, is to firstly educate and inform people about the cutting edge technology, about, whatever health concern they have. And the other side of the coin for me, something I'm super passionate about personally, is health optimization and kind of longevity and really sustaining health into throughout our lifetime. Some people talk about health span as opposed to lifespan, so how long you can be fully functional, enjoying your life, participating, enjoying your relationships and a fully active life. So I'm very passionate about the value of preserving your health through every available means. And so a part of that's the minimally invasive procedures that I'm a specialist in, and the rest of it is my interest in lifestyle optimization.
Do you have an example of some of these lifestyle optimization?
For sure, yeah. I mean, like the simplest things are probably the most effective, things like exercise and different nutritional strategies. But like something I'm doing quite a lot recently is like something like sauna, for example, which has excellent evidence of reduction in, say, cardiovascular mortality risk. Through something that's really quite safe and non-medical in some ways. These are manipulating temperature, environment, also light, how our sleep hygiene practices, how well we sleep. This really affects mood, immune function, and, really all aspects of health. So I see if someone's struggling with a health concern, there's kind of two layers. They firstly work at all the things they can control themselves to make them as resilient and healthful as possible. And secondly, go to a medical specialist and get the best available cutting edge medical treatment that they can.
Great. So your show, you're looking at bringing forward all these best sort of information, new practices, new ideas that can help people really sustain themselves to live longer.
Exactly. So that's the area that I think I'm most passionate about. But I feel as though medicine is changing. People are becoming much more informed, self-informed. We have AI, right on the horizon, which is bringing all of the best information to people. But also, we're coming out of something where medicine was patriarchal. You were told what to do, to rather an informed discussion where the patient can make their own decision based on their values and what they want to achieve for their life. So I really believe in empowering people and, who become patients as part of their life, but all people being empowered through information to, kind of live their best life. And part of that's, dealing with the journey through a medical illness, or a medical acute condition that can be helped by something like surgery or minimally invasive surgery. But I think it's part of a lifelong journey of health optimization.
Great. Well, this is very all-encompassing. I like it. Do you have examples of the type of content that you look to be producing through your show that people can expect in the future?
Yeah. So I'm planning shortly to interview some of Australia's experts in certain aspects of interventional radiology or minimally invasive image-guided procedures. And that's because there are treatments like, for example, prostate arterial embolization, which can help to improve urinary flow for guys who are struggling with a very large prostate and who don't want to have invasive surgery. This is a minimally invasive option available to them. That's something that I personally specialize in and do a lot of. But then also I'll be interviewing my friends and colleagues who have their special interest areas, like, for instance, uterine fibroids and adenomyosis is conditions that affect the uterus, that affect large numbers of women and can be pretty disabling. And some of the options available are not that attractive. So I really want to make sure patients know about their minimally invasive image-guided options like uterine embolization, for example.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that interventional radiology being such a new area, it might not be so common for people to understand what procedures you do actually sort of utilize and sort of what conditions you could be treating. Do you know any resources? Are there any spots where people could go to sort of maybe get a little bit more understanding about interventional radiology?
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, interventional radiology is really in the dark. And I use that kind of as a pun in the sense that radiologists used to sit in the dark reporting films, but also there's really very little penetration of the information that's known to some specialists in big teaching hospitals, but not really known out in the local doctor and patient community. So I really feel that's where we can add some value for patients, and some choices. And yeah, the first place I'd recommend is the Interventional Radiology Society of Australasia. That's IRSA. I'm currently the president of IRSA, and we've been building out some content for patients where they can go and see if there's a minimally invasive option for them. So there's some downloadable brochures there, for example. And I have my own website, drrogan.com, so I'm building some content on that too. I think the plan is to make some more videos because some people prefer to, listen in their car or watch a video on the couch rather than reading through brochures. So I like video personally.
Great. Fun. And so, who are some of the people that you hope to reach with your new show here?
Yeah, so I think there's probably two different audiences. There's people who are currently dealing with a medical condition that have a minimally invasive solution. So that's some of the conditions I've mentioned. They may stumble across a video we make about their condition and find that helpful. That's what I'm hoping. And then secondly, there is my fellow, citizens really who are interested in health optimization. So, I believe even if we're not dealing with an acute medical condition, we all have, the stresses of life and aging, and it's incumbent on all of us to try and optimize our health as best as possible. And so I'm hoping to reach a broader audience of people who are really interested in health information. There's lots of people in the what's called biohacking space where they like to tweak elements of their health and then monitor that, for example, with a wearable watch or You're with a blood test every now and then. There's also people involved in the medical community who are a bit more holistic, the functional doctors, for example. I'm kind of interested across that, across both sides of that spectrum. People tinkering with their own health from a dietary or exercise point of view, and medical professionals trying to help people to really find all of the available options to make themselves as healthy as they can be.
Is there 3 words that you would use to sort of describe what this Dr. Chris Rogan show would encapsulate?
Well, I think the first would be informed. I think information is power, and it can be a bit overwhelming for people outside of the medical profession to trawl through studies and make sense of them, look at statistics and figure out what's a junk study from a meaningful finding. So, there are some wonderful people out there, but I'd like to contribute to that from a medical perspective, like looking at the studies. And so information, I think, would be the first thing. That also relates to the concept of informed consent. So if someone's going to go have a medical procedure, I believe to truly give informed consent for that procedure, they need to have the information that they need to make decisions that are in line with their priorities for their life and what they want to achieve with their life. I mean, I think the second thing would be cutting edge technology. I think there's so much exciting coming online constantly, in my specialty through innovative devices or new procedures that have been published by my colleagues that aren't that well known about. It could offer hope for someone who didn't have a solution previously, for example. And within the health optimization space, there's lots of new things coming through all the time. And some of it's junk and some of it's fantastic, and it's about sifting through, what's quackery from what's really helpful and not harmful. And finally, I think it's about health optimization. So I think that it's one thing to take someone from being sick to being average, but I believe it's possible for us to take ourselves from being average to being really as healthful as possible, energy levels, sleep quality, nutrition. Sometimes you don't realize that you're in a suboptimal state. You've been tired for so long that you don't realize what it's like to have a good night's sleep, for example. So I think optimization is the goal, and I'd love to discuss all of the information and content around how to be optimized rather than just getting by.
That sounds excellent. That sounds like a lot of fun. So where can people go to find these videos and contents that you're going to be producing?
Some of the interviews like this and the longer form interviews I do will be posted on YouTube, and they'll be linked on my drrogan.com site. I think on socials, for example, Instagram, Dr. Chris Rogan, and on Twitter, Dr. Chris Rogan, that will be where I put out those short snippets of information too. So probably the website's probably the best place to start, but I'll have links to everything else.
Any final thoughts?
I'm really trying to get over myself, and it's very easy to be self-conscious and not put anything out there. I think that's the default for me. But I'm really hoping that by getting what's in my head out, it may impact some people. People who are on a parallel journey, in terms of health optimization, or people who are suffering with a condition that I've been involved in treating a lot. I'm just really hoping to resonate with people and provide some kind of valuable information for them. So for me, it's really about getting outside of my comfort zone and putting some videos out there. And please, I'm open to all feedback, but I just want to do something that's worthwhile, that's helping people to become their best selves, essentially.
Well, thank you very much for sitting down with us today, and we look forward to seeing the content that you produce in the future.
Cool. Sounds good.